The sulfur-tipped match pops and sizzles as it flares and bursts into flame. The sting of burning sulfur awakens dulled senses. Resting next to the wick, the small white candle slowly absorbs the flickering orange tongue and begins to glow. The light of the one candle fills the darkened room. Stirred by a dream, I rose before the dawn and went to the sadhana room. There, within the stillness, the contemplation continued. The litany of extrasensory stimulation was beginning to unravel. A relentless emptiness had erupted, demanding to know what was the point of all these visionary experiences, dreams, and profusions of channeled information. Somewhere in the drama of sacred pilgrimage and shamanic visions, purpose and meaning had become overshadowed. It was time to put the parlor games behind me and face whatever essential truth that might be claimed. The mood was rich and dramatic. The clearer I began to see the issue, the more natural and unshakable the resolve became. It was as if I could not live another day without attending to this most important of all issues. It was as if somewhere there had been an unalterable appointment, and the time was now. Somewhere in the universal chronology of things, I was being told, yes, now is the time. This is the place, the time and place to discover what the hungry soul has been seeking, the time to reaffirm the ancient commitment and to reclaim the ancient knowledge. Charging upward towards the heart of the sacred promontory, a jeep rattled and shook and began to lose power in the thin alpine air. High in the slide rock, running out of road, I left the vehicle and continued on foot. I pushed onward, upward, into that sacred vortex, that acknowledged gateway to the source of this soul's creation and ancestral emerging. The winds howled around a large flat rock that was warmed by the rising sun. Upon this pagan altar was placed the Bible, given to me by my mother when I was 8 years old. A steel savakra, or bracelet, inscribed with the mantra Guru Dev had imparted to me, was placed in the east. The jaguar fetish, as seen in my vision, was placed in the west. I sat in the north and chanted and prayed. It was time to be still. It was time to put aside all but the essential gnawing. I stretched out on the hard, uneven surface of the rock. I felt filled with the power and conviction that brought me there. Then I began to feel very small, fragile, and humble. A passing cloud blocked the sun's rays and threatened rain. For a few minutes, the body felt cold and weak. It was good to feel the return of the sun's warm rays. Basking upon the rock, I realized I had brought no food, no water, or warm clothing. I began to feel foolish, remembering the immature attempt to call God's promises down out of the sky while sitting on another rock one Sunday long ago, inspired by the biblical account of Elijah. Yet, the knowing that called me to the rock was as yet unanswered, and it was still calling. I began to acknowledge a growing feeling that I would not move from this place until I was answered. However, I was not sure if that was my decision or the decision of this force that was relentlessly taunting me. I just knew that I had to be there at that time, at that place, on that day. That was why I was here, not to bless or condemn, not to propose or to dispose, but perhaps just to be. I wondered how long I would stay upon the rock. At times, waves of restless energy pulsated through my unraveling mind. Still, I lingered. I was waiting for something. For what? I really did not know. At some point, I don't think I even cared. Eventually, the fidgety mind, weary of its machinations, just stopped, relaxed, and watched. After a time, I began to feel some subtle tingling throughout my body. I began to experience what some call the astral, ethereal, or spirit body. It was like a force field that existed within my physical body. This had been experienced several times before, several times being childhood and college years, and a few times while practicing some arcane yoga kriyas. It began to twist and stretch and then rock back and forth as if a hidden part of me was coming to life, relaxing into a deeper communion with this inner phenomena. I noticed that, although my eyes were open, I didn't seem to be seeing anything. Soon the activity began to intensify. I could feel myself tumbling and swirling, stretching and shrinking. Consciousness became focused in all directions all at once. I found myself hovering above the quiet, motionless body. Then it was as if I was in all times, at all places, and with the slightest prompting, attention could be honed to a single infinitesimal point of passive concentration. As I observed these experiences, the mind began to flutter. It would realize it had stopped thinking and would briefly revive the chatter and then be absorbed back into the stillness once again. I became aware of stretching deeply into the mountain. It was as if the promontory had become my body. I realized I could no longer resist this process, but I didn't want to. I recall taking one long deep breath and thinking that once more I would trust whatever God that there might be to safely guide my way. I was thrust into a vast, expansive world, the primitive world of sight, sound, touch, texture, taste, and smell was revealed as a poorly reflected shadow that began to lose its relevance. I was as a struggling infant, captured within a sea of unintelligible sensations, delightfully puzzled and amused, attempting to discover some order to the unraveled tapestry of time and space. The mind continued to relax and disassemble. It seemed somehow widened. It became more of an aperture than something that actively processes, evaluates, and creates. Then came a magnificent emerging. The soul was enlivened and awakened. I could feel the joy and power of the Creator breathing within and around me. Adesh was answered. It was a thing that now I can only playfully attempt to describe through the mystery of metaphor. The Holy Presence, so familiar, so personal that it defies need for discussion or description. So pristine, so pure in its simplicity that once it has been touched, it becomes obvious that it has always been right here with us, in between us, within the very fabric of our being. It is cleverly hidden within the midst of all of creation, enshrouded by the guilt, shame, and fear of our self-imposed limitations. I experience how we have become our own betrayers. Though we live a blinded, muted life, the presence never fades and never leaves us. Everywhere does it manifest. It is the everywhere and the everything. If we are here, it is here. It is such a familiar and comfortable place. I have been here many times, and many times I have forgotten. But for now, I was once more alive. I feel a gentle shudder and become aware that if I remain in this place much longer, it will not be possible to return. Becoming more and more self-conscious, I begin feeling the familiar cavern that was calling me back. The great resistance, fueled by my own clumsy clutching, pulls at resurfacing an incited thought and emotion. The internal witness dredging up the uncompleted missions, the gaping wounds, the unhealed scars, stains the flustered mind and challenges this pristine right. Becoming aware of my own moaning, I am sucked downward with a crushing velocity as shredded shards of consciousness plunge back into earth. I lay eclipsed within the incredulous denseness that is my own body. It is rigid and immovable. Everything is hard and heavy. It feels like it has forgotten to breathe. Struggling for air like a diver emerging from a deep lake, I break the surface as I fight for life-giving breath. The heart is slow, heavy, uncertain. It thumps intermittently. A cool wind brings the piercing sound of an unknown bird screeching in the distance, or is it the air whistling through the nose and back into my lungs? Everything seems far away and muted. The tongue is thick, the mouth is dry. Eyes don't seem to focus. I decide to sit up, but the body doesn't move, it just lays there. Then, suddenly, jerks back to life. It is tight and awkward. It takes a moment to respond to direction. It is clumsy and stiff. Climbing upward to a sitting position, I continue to breathe the breath of life, instinctively engaging in some yogic pranayama. Eyes begin to water profusely. The nose drips and runs. It appears that I am back. Massaging and stretching my body, a new reverence emerges for the temple that our Creator has provided. As strength and coordination slowly return, I follow the setting sun down the sacred mountain. Arriving home in the valley, I am ready for rest and nourishment. I stand upon the deck, slowly eating the flesh of fresh-cut melon. Its taste is more alive and vibrant than any I've tasted before. Watching the promontory, I remain mesmerized and motionless. It seems I am suspended in time. I awaken during the night, slip on some clothes, and go outside. I am drenched in the light of the glowing moon that permeates everything. It just hangs there, suspended and radiant, neither asking nor taking, just being. Its steady, undeniable presence illuminates my steps. Meandering through the streets, yielding to its delicate flowing, I wander a short distance up onto the hillside, above the lights in the valley. Exploring the illumined darkness, I navigate the rocks, briars, and clumps of bunch grass, and sit near the outcropping where I once sought the favor of Elijah's divine ravens. Recalling the childhood vigil, I remain peacefully astounded by the ever-flowing presence. Aftershocks of the sacred rapture episodically waft through some unseen doorway, emerging from out of the oneness. The mind is tranquil and still, the heart is content and at peace, the body is nourished and immersed in healing. The soul bears witness to this ever-flowing presence. There is something here. It is real, alive, and mighty. It is totally intimate. It is beyond all conjecture and mythologizing. It is beyond all wondering. It has always been here, even though we are not always able to recognize it. It is nestled deep within all our blinding layers of trauma. It is a part of and mixed within all our ignorant and arrogant ways of thinking and believing. It is always here. It is here now. Our conscious minds may struggle to devise ideology in order to grasp, comprehend, and manipulate. However, it is not bound by any cult of personality or dogma. It is beyond all petty religiosity and institutionalization. It cannot be induced by credentials or certification. No one has the exclusive franchise. No one book can ever hold its power. No one teacher can have all its answers. Yet its grace and blessings continuously form a progression of sacred vessels that become the foundation of every teaching, doctrine, and religion. It needs no name, but it has been called by many names. It manifests as it will, when it will. Its recognition is the purpose of our existence. It is the essence of our existence. The promises are true. This revealing upon the mountain was a very significant event, and it was foreshadowed by 100 or maybe 1,000 little events, all heralding a moment when the clouds would part and an answer would come. The maturing traveler begins to realize that our world grows, flows, drifts, and expands in an evolutionary way. Nothing of value comes into being spontaneously. It is planted, sprouts, is nourished and matures before bringing forth the fruit. Then it often appears to fade away, only to be found growing and flowering in another place, in another time, and perhaps in another way. I don't know how it is supposed to be. I only know how I have experienced it. My suspicion is that it is a consciously growing seed that is capable of taking many forms, but it is always of the same source. My suspicion is that I shall always remain pregnant with this presence of this sacred knowledge as I continue to discover that I've always been wrapped within it. My observation is that it continues as a gentle, comforting, guiding, and healing, allowing me to progress at my own pace as I am willing and able to accept. If not pursued, it will probably not come, yet when it does come, it is a gift that cannot be earned. It is a gift that is eternally given. It has become as relationship that is a partnership in a constant state of exploration. My hope is that it will continue to grow within me. Whether or not it ever blossoms to the fullest is of no consequence, for it is already here. I know not if there are other levels or other meanings. This seems irrelevant and distracting to the fullness of this one complete and blissful moment. Although there is continual movement within this motionless quiet, there is no hurry. There is no rush. It moves within each step and within each thought. It comes again and again to remind me. It is the Adnam. It is the Christ. It is the God within. It coaxes me away from bitterness and calamity. It soothes and caresses. It shares its life with me personally and intimately. It is forever forgiving. It sends me teachers and helpers and friends. It comes from a place where the human soul may truthfully say, I am complete, and I need no more. This was my harmonic convergence. From the book, Telluride, The Sacred Valley. I am Adesh, and I am here.